Hi everyone, this is Philip Martin from the Phoenix Society. In this video we're going to take a look at the Brescia museum sword made by Maciej Kopciuch from the artofswordmaking.com. This famous sword from the museum in Brescia, Italy has a very distinctive blade profile and a beautiful hilt design. The blade is 35.5 inches long. The sword weighs 3 pounds 4 ounces with a point of balance right around 4 3/4 inches. One feature of this sword that might not be obvious at first glance is the secondary bevel. The reason for this design is not clear. Some people think that it may be a later modification to this blade, since the hilt components have a lot more corrosion than the blade itself. But one thing that is clear is that if this sword is going to cut well, that secondary bevel needs to be well executed. When I mentioned to Maciej that I was going to review this sword and do some test cutting, he warned me that it may not have been sharpened. I bought it secondhand from a collector, and for collectors, a sharpened edge can just be a liability, both for when they're cleaning the blade and if they let someone else handle the sword, it can be dangerous. So he was right, it was not sharpened. It required some grinding and shaping of the secondary bevel before the final edge was applied. And as usual, the details of that sharpening will be included in the video on my Patreon channel, and I'll put a link in the description below. But once I did sharpen this blade, I did some test cutting this weekend. So let's take a look at that footage and see how well this sword cuts the Tommy. So as you can see, the sword cuts very well. This is a stout, stiff blade, very stiff blade. The secondary bevel allows the sword to remain thick and stiff while still having an effective cutting edge. After cutting the Tommy mats, I did a little more cutting, both for fun and to test out that edge. I cut some pool noodles, and for those of you who cut pool noodles, you know that if the edge is not sharp enough and if the sword imparts too much force on the noodle, it'll just flop over. And as you can see in these videos, this sword cuts cleanly through the pool noodle with very little resistance. So this secondary bevel design produced a very efficient cutting edge. Overall, I'm very impressed with this sword. Very beautiful, well executed design. It's held up well during cutting. There's no looseness in the hilt, or the sword has taken no damage. If you want to have one of these swords for cutting, I would advise you to ask Maciej to sharpen it beforehand, which he can do just fine. I have a couple of Type 2 falchions that he sent to me that had very sharp edges when I received them. I hope you found this video helpful. As I say, there's more information on the Patreon channel as far as sharpening and just more information about this sword. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching.